the Arkle Novices chase now, Will, where there will be another short price favourite. Not quite the one that we were hoping it was going to be. I say hoping because I was hoping that Sergino and Madsborough would get the clash. I was hoping that Madsborough would do what he's been doing this season and give us a bit of a price on Sergino, because I was very much in that camp. Now, the fact that he's not running in here, it does change the dynamic of this race significantly, I'd say, because we do have one standout contender, which is Madsborough. People were crabbing his jumping last time out, but to win in the manner that he did, regardless of how he jumped, was the sign of a very, very good horse. Much like Copet de Board, he's only a 5-year-old as well, but obviously he's already a Triumph hurdle winner. We've got Novices is his second favourite here at 9-2. We've got Django Bay that's 9-1, who potentially was supposed to be going for a Brown Advisory, but then with Sergino coming out, they've decided with connections to come here, which seems a little bit strange in my mind, but I guess you'd rather try them at the shorter trip than the longer trip if you don't know definitely whether they'll stay. Then you've got Only by Night, who probably could come in here for Gavin Cromwell rather than go to the Mare's Chase. Firefox has got lots of options. Touch Me Not will probably run here. Gidley Park suffered a setback. So it does look like it's a field that's going to cut up, Will. On the exchanges as well, Madsborough's about a 4 to 5 poke. So while he's like close to 1 to 2 with the sportsbook bookies, the exchange does seem to want to get him beat. So do you think you can get Madsborough beat?
I don't think I can, no. I think this race is falling apart, isn't it, at the seams, from what looks a really hot renewal of it, probably even just a month or so ago, with Sergino and Madsborough and 1 or 2 others just bubbling under, the likes of Il Atlantique and various others, Ampari Pass perhaps. It's just absolutely fallen apart. So, yeah, look, I think Madsborough, he was really good at the Dublin Racing Festival. There were 1 or 2 chinks there, 1 or 2 things that you could iron out with respect to his jumping. It didn't visually look brilliant, but he actually got from A to B pretty quick in a manner that he has his own style. And I think you probably need to look beyond the visuals with regards to this, because the way he powered through the line, away from some half decent horses, was really notable. And he's going to be improving day on day. I mean, there's not many 5-year-olds that go to the Arkle, but it's the stature in which he's held and his physicality that has struck him as Willie Mullins' main Arkle contender, really, and put him right at the top of that tree. And in terms of the opposition, Loda Sud I respect, but I think we've seen the best of him. I don't think we'll see much more improvement from what he's done. And I think Madsborough's probably already at a level higher than that with the scope to improve. Django Bay's in here. He's a very good horse. I rate him very, very highly. Have backed him for the 3-mile race. So I'm hoping Connections have a bit of an about turn with regards to that. But this looks it is falling apart. So they might run well here, finish in the places, and then go for the 2.5-mile Grade 1 at Aintree, which looks his absolutely ideal race this season. So beyond that, it's hard to know how to play the race. I think, again, it'll be probably one where I look at the without markets closer to the time. And there might even be some floating around right now. And further down, a horse like, there's a horse called Jordan's, who is a Joseph O'Brien trained chaser, who's just been bubbling under. They've been campaigning him with a view to get a favourable mark, hopefully, for the novice handicap chase. And I'll come to that later on for this preview. Because I do think he might be better over 2.5 miles, but he has shown a lot of pace in some decent races in Ireland. And it's classic Joseph O'Brien. He'll have all of his horses, all of his string, absolutely tuned up to the minute for the Cheltenham Festival. And he'll probably have 2 or 3 winners across the 4 days. And everyone will be slightly surprised at the moment. And then they'll look back and they'll think, well, he always does this. And Jordan's is a lot better horse than he's been showing in some respects. So he could be one that if they did go here, he might run into the places. But it's a big if, because Madsborough, is going to be tough to beat, but there'll be plenty that are probably scared off. And if Jordan's isn't one of those, he might be one of those to run into the frame at a big old price.
Oh, I like that. That's my sort of downside. I always feel when the race of an Arkle does sort of cut up, or there's not a standout contender, that we get a few of these novices that probably could go well in a handicap, that they just decide, well, maybe we'll just chance our arm in a Grade 1 because we can go for a handicap later down the line. But I like horses to try and stick to their plans. Loda Sud's run at Cheltenham was good at the start of the year. He sort of impressed me there, but he definitely hasn't taken the leaps forwards that you would expect with a normal trajectory of him. But maybe the return back to Cheltenham will sort of ramp him up. He does like it. And Madsborough obviously likes it winning the Triumph, doesn't he? But I agree completely with what you said, that Madsborough's bar is already set higher than Loda Sud's with the scope for further improvement. And especially with his jumping stuff as well, I'm a big advocate that I want novices, especially chasers, to be making mistakes over their fences. Not because I want anything to happen, but it shows that they can learn from it. John Bond was a really good jumper over his fences as a novice until he got into the Arkle, made a couple of mistakes, and I think it made a man of him. Envoy Lamb was blemish free until he came to Cheltenham, and I know there was other reasons maybe why he sort of underperformed, but they're only going to get better with their jumping. I do think the Masborough is really solid. It is just the case, I would say, with the fact that he's 1-2 with the sports books, he's, like I say, about 4-5 on the exchange. He does look more solid than Copec de Board in the fact that he's got a bigger gap and less competition to improve against him, but he has obviously got fast fences to take as a bigger obstacle. So I'd say he's a bigger risk than Copec de Board would be in my mind, but I need to move on from the Supreme, don't I? Because we're on to race 2 already. But looks a good one. And of course, we want to try and pick out some value for you guys. But if it's not necessarily there to be had at this moment, then we're not just going to throw something out there for the sake of it. As Will's touched on, there could be some entries that come in here at big old prices, especially without.
I should have mentioned Gidley Park, actually, as well. He's had a setback, so he misses the Pendle at Kempton this weekend as we speak. Don't know what that setback is. Don't know how long that'll keep him off. But he's one that actually, on what he did at Windsor, should I say. He's one with the ability that might just push into those echelons. But, he's had a setback. What that setback is, I don't know. But if he were reportedly 100% and he tuned up and he appeared at the race, he'd be a standout player in that market because he was really good at Windsor.